and some of those who I know personally in the audience. I am indeed very happy to be here. To a Boston persuasion practitioner. I am here. I feel really happy that the Dr. Ambedkar Study Center is making program of the University Grant Commission. Is there with the purpose that the mainstream social discourse and teaching doesn't take, that they should undertake the studies and research and spread the view of this by the deprived people. Fred, you have showered so much of praise on me, and I feel extremely honored. I am a very, very small man. Nobody can even imagine going anywhere near to Dr. Ambedkar in terms of then you will realize not only for the elite and poor, as Dr. Aloysius has rightly pointed out, to reconstruct this our society and our polity and reconstruct the nationalism that we are talking about. When I wrote that book, compiling Dr. Ambedkar's basic writing, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar on social exclusion and equality policy, I had an opportunity to go through the entire life scan of his academic writing. And it is there that I could see the tremendous amount of effort that he has put in, and that how much he has done for, particularly for the Dalit and Pune, the Gokhale Institute. The Gokhale Institute is in Pune and they have a Pale Memorial Lecture. Last year I was invited. Dr. Ambedkar was invited somewhere around the mid-30s. The Pale Memorial Lecture was on Grande Gandhi and China. He made a comparison of Gandhiji with Grande and Grande with China. I don't want to go. And he had that style of writing that he would go from the beginning to the end. He went into the histories of criteria which are used to define a person as a great man. At some part of history, it was said that those who are intellectual and learned are the great people. So the intelligent people may not be necessarily great people. We have a very strong tradition of misuse of knowledge by intellectual community. Wisdom, intellect and learn, and it ends somewhere around, the major contribution ends around after the conversion of Buddhism in 1956. So this is a period here. Some of the 30s is very critical. The 20s and the 30s in fact laid down, and the 40s of course, laid down the basic foundation of our polity, our economy and society. If we have a democracy, it all happened during 40s. If we have a moment of political independence, it all happened in 20s and the 30s. If we had a state reorganization around whatever principle, it all happened in 50s and 40s. Freedom movement, you participate in all discussion, right from 1990 to 29, first round table, second round table, constitution making. He was involved right from the beginning in the reform of what is called Government of India Act. When the question of Pakistan came, he was the only person who wrote a book on thoughts of Pakistan. When the question of reorganization of the state came, and when the State Reorganization Committee submitted a report, he was the only one who made severe critique of the reorganization of the state around the principle of one language, one state. When the question of minority came, he wrote communal deadlock and made to solve it. And at each point, the Government of India Act was passed in 1910, but each time the Act came for a modification, 1920, 1930, 1935, 1940, Dr. Ambedkar participated and gave the memorandum impact of the Constitution in the form of the state and minorities. think that could be one of the reasons why he was invited to be the chairman of the drafting committee, because he was the only one who had a somewhat reasonable idea as to what should be our constitution. But there is another thing that we should remember, that 20s is not only important for that purpose, but 20s also brought various ideologies which influenced the building of this as a nation. Little earlier, Congress was formed. So with Congress, you have a perspective of Congress toward the independence and many issues. Gandhiji gave leadership and emerged the ideology of what is called Gandhism. In 1925 in Kanpur, Communist Party was set up. With that, the Marxism and Communism began to flourish here as a political system, ideology. It is during 30s that the different types of democratic socialists came on the scene, Lohia and several other groups. It is during 1925 that RSMIs were very active. Interact with the democratic socialists, learn from them, but also express his differences. But through this interaction with all of them, develop his own ideology for the reconstruction of India. What Dina Ambedkar, I think, for the first time tried to describe the Ambedkarism in a group democratic Ambedkarism as an idea. I think such excellent speech was given by Rajuji. Excellent speech given by the other person. Where does this inspiration come from? Ambedkar was somewhere born in Bombay. Activism would have been take long time. But that literature inspired people, because that literature present. 1935. It's a very, very crucial period. Ambedkar built up a movement against classes. He realized that unless you address the problem of caste, you cannot deal with the problem of Dalit. And he put that question to Marxists, he put that question to Gandhiji, he put that question to British and everybody. But there are two ways at which Dr. Ambedkar was operating. And if you read it carefully, that I think only very recently when I wrote that book, Ambedkar, Socialist Union and Policy, because each one of us who are who pretend to be Ambedkar have also an illusion that they know everything about you. But when you really start looking at it, I think Ambedkar is yet to be discovered. There are many fronts to be very frank. In the 20s, Dr. Ambedkar started civil rights movement with Mahad, access to tank, entry to Nashik temple in 1932, because he wanted an equal access to the Dalit to all the places. And entire Maharashtra was indulged with the civil rights movement, anti-disability movement. It went down till early 60s, when in my small village, when I was a small child, the well was not open for Dalit. The temple was not open for Dalit. After the enactment of Anti-Disability Act in 1955, it is Dr. R.S. Dawai, the leader of the Republican Party of India, came with a copy of the Anti-Disability Act and two police in our village. And we stand in the queue just to enter into that well, because the well then you have to take a steps and go down the water, bring water up in a vessel. So the high caste supports. And Dr. R.F. Dawai told him, and police told him that this is the law, all the public places are open to untouchable. If you violate, you will be inside the jail. I'm just giving an example, but the entire Maharashtra was engaged in a civil rights movement, in a democratic way. There was blood at time. So this is a period of 1990 till 1932. Nashik temple's education was 1932. The priest Shankaracharya that please allow the untouchable to enter. It doesn't make any difference. So Ambedkar got more and more insight about the working of the caste system. Decided that he started reading caste system. His first paper was in Zoology. A seminar in anthropology. The theory of caste that he gave was he has written in 1960. But the point that I want to make you share with you very quickly is that it is during this. What you have today in the form of constitution began in 1990. Wherein they described the problem of untouchable and asked for the political solution was before the South Bureau Committee, when they came to reform the Government of India Act in 1920. I read it carefully how Ambedkar articulated those ideas. Then after 10 years, Simon Commission came in 1929-30 to reform the Government of India again, and he submitted a memorandum to Simon's Commission. Then in that followed the first roundtable conference. Look at those memorandum and the language and articulation that he used, that showed with what pain and scholarship and interest that he has tried for the political and economic, political and the other rights for the country. He had to argue with the Simon Commission, he had to argue with the South Bill. They asked him, how do you define, how do you identify scheduled caste? So when we identify, they suffer from untouchability. Because in India, other than that, everybody suffers from caste discrimination of one type or another. Reproduce. And as we go along from 1990 to state and minorities is the last statement, which is submitted to the Constitution. There is a refinement in his writing. On first presentation. A legal safeguard against violation of equal right, you require a safeguard for protection, and we have to debate. But this is the effort, intellectual effort that he put to justify as to reservation. How they require a law against untouchability. How they require a reservation policy not in politics but also in employment activities. That was the intellectual struggle of Dr. Ambedkar. It was not easy. And to see him in first, then you know the story of Pune. I don't want to go into that. But how much pain and anguish he must have gone through before he got to Pune. The Pune Pact also mentioned one thing. Imagine. It was accepted. Not the separately adopted, but the political reservation. There was one sentence there at the end where we carefully. The effort will be made to extend this reservation in employment and education. And it is in 1943, as a Minister of Labour, he was a member of the executive committee that was minister at that time, he introduced, he sought to that the government issue an order on the reservation in employment. It was in 1950 that the reservation and special provision for education was made. So everything that you enjoy and you have, it's all because of his sweat, hard effort, and future for it. Final wisdom, final consolidation of his thinking. He put every effort, intellectual effort, when he knew that the Constitution was being made and that is a golden time, an opportune time when he could do something. And he said, in his view, this is how the Constitution should be. And the right of that. So if you look at the state and minority, it was the book, part of which is in annexation. Now, I am not going to go into the detail, but I just want that in this all, the finally the state and minorities ideology comes in. Yes. State, socialism, constructing and rebuilding Indian nation. Some of you may know it that Harijan League was formed by Gandhiji and Ambedkar was a member of that. Things were moving, but significant differences between Gandhiji and Ambedkar you can see. Those who are interested, coming to the untouchable, there is a large chapter on Gandhism. Nobody has really studied Gandhism as clearly as Ambedkar did that. The similarity between Gandhism and what Ambedkar draws from Gandhism, but what are the dissimilarities? And why he parted company with Gandhiji? Why did he resign from that league? The simple thing was, there are 3 points that you should remember because this issue also, ideology it has become a part of the agenda of the Congress party. It has influenced the Congress party. Gandhiji's thinking, many of them are very positive, some of them have their own limitation. But the major difference between Gandhiji and Ambedkar was this, and that comes in any relation of caste. Some of them have read the references. That Gandhiji would not agree that the caste system and untouchability has any relation with Hinduism. It is an appendix. It has nothing to do with the philosophy and ideology of Hinduism. Ambedkar took an opposite position. He said no. Caste system is the social organization of Hinduism. The theory of karma, theory of rebirth, these are all justified caste system. The concept of soul, which is eternal. So you can see that Hindu philosophical principles are based on, provide support and justification to the caste system. So Dr. Ambedkar's position would be then, he would argue with Gandhiji that look, if you have to do something with the caste, you have to do something with Hindu religion also. Not only that he interacted with them, he worked with them. In the first provincial election of 1937, after the second round-table conference, Ambedkar's party, independent labor party, were Marxists and supported by Ambedkar. Both the system and other economic issues. And he found a common ground with the Marxists. But there were differences. When he discovered Marxism, where he said, workers are workers, but here are the. So if you look at the manifesto of independent Marxist party is the Labour Party. Independent Labour Party because he wanted to combine labour with caste. Caste exploitation with economic exploitation. And still the Marxists did not recognize that problem. Even till recently, there is no clear-cut recognition of this. Caste issue. If you look at the entire writing of Dr. Ambedkar, that if you look at his lecture on Buddha and Karl Marx, that the society is divided into classes. That there are property owning and property-less classes, and it is the property owning classes which exploit the property-less. That there is a class antagonism, and that unless you remove that was hardcore Marxist position that Ambedkar had explained in the third module. He said that in Indian context, caste is important. He very rightly pointed out that all workers are brothers. There is a fraternity, there is a love. Workers are divided here. The same low, high caste worker discriminate against the low caste worker. What kind of fraternity and love you can have together? So if you want to unite the worker for the revolution, you have to deal with the issue of discrimination first. Otherwise, untouchable will not join. They will join you for a morcha and demonstration, but in the hope that you will live separately. The untouchable worker will live in his the renting worker will live in his own locality. They won't interdine, they won't intermarry. What kind of fraternity and love you can have? What kind of front you can build up? Ambedkar posed a very important question. Not treat him equally before the revolution. What is the guarantee that you will treat him equally after the revolution? Take it. Marx's message, Engel's message. I tried to discover the views of Engels and Marx on superstructure. Engels has clarified on the relationship between the economic structure and superstructure like caste and took a position that he said that some of the young Marxists take a position that you will responsible. What Engels said and what we have said, Marx and we have said, that among host of factors, economic factor is the predominant factor. That doesn't mean that the other factors are. Then it is not a Marxist position. And he goes further and said that at different point of time in history, different factors will come into play. And you have to deal with those factors. Here in India, in early 30s and 20s, when Marxist movement was building, caste was important. Ambedkar did part development in the Marxists. He developed his own ideology. And ultimately, I think thinking of Ambedkar comes in, you say that minority. Let me spend 5 minutes on that and then I stop. or restructuring of Indian society to which Aloysius has made a reference. It is there, he said, he has laid down his wisdom. And if you want to draw a lesson for today, it is from there that we have to draw a lesson. He gave what is called a democratic socialist concept. You nationalize, take ownership. You can cultivate collectively, you can cultivate individually, but there has to be equal access. Industries, industry should be under public sector. Insurance should be under public sector. Education should be under public sector. He called it a socialism of a type. But that socialism has to be brought into democratic way. Difference between the masses, not through political dictatorship. In so many words, I think many of the forecasts of Dr. Ambedkar has come true. One of the forecasts is this, you can read in his writing. He said, I cannot imagine how Soviet socialism, socialism in Soviet Union under force. They have to have some morality. And then he said that they have to, when you change the people by their conviction, by their morality, so that they practice socialism, not by force. And this is precisely what has happened in Soviet Union. It didn't take more than 70 to 80 years to collapse. So he said that the kind of socialism that we want, it should be through the democratic ways and means. But he also knew that democracy, there is no guarantee in democracy that you can have socialism. You can have a nationalization of land and public sector undertaking and have it for 20 years, another government term, and it will remove you. Because the 50s and 60s and 70s, we are working today. Because political system changed. Therefore, he gave what is called constitutional state socialism. That make the socialism a part of the constitutions and make it unamendable by any majority. This was the innovation. Kancha will tell you that he was deviating from the liberal democracy. Erase question that the concept of democracy, a liberal constitution is that you define only political structure. Don't define economic structure. Economic structure, leave it to the ordinary law to be decided. He said that is not a good idea. You define a constitution should also define political structure, namely political democracy, but also economic structure in the constitution instead. He said, what is wrong with that? Because he said political democracy cannot survive without economic democracy and social democracy. Let us define it. It was democratic socialist Mamu Masani who opposed Ambedkar structure, not an economic structure. Look at the irony of the fate that the democratic socialists opposed the suggestion of Dr. Ambedkar. We have socialism as a part of the Indian constitution. Socialism with parliamentary democracy or constitutional state socialism with parliamentary democracy was the social, economic and political system that Ambedkar conceived for India. He didn't succeed. He tried it. You have to read his comment on Nehru resolution. I don't want to go into that. So, state and minority gives only two solutions. One, political and economic system again economic exploitation. So, democratic, constitutional democratic socialism is the framework that he has given. The second is the safeguard against discrimination, which many of them would not have, particularly the mass sector. That untouchable will get their right in that system. It will take care of many of their problems. But against discrimination, you have to have a safeguard. And then he brought legal safeguard, Anti-Atrocity Act, Atrocity Act, reservation to give them the due share because discrimination in society will continue, and conversion to Buddhism. An ideology which will promote equality, fraternity, and liberty. Changing the morality of the people. You cannot have a democratic society with a caste system. Our democracy has been very gradually absorbed and adjusted into the caste system. Because we are not fighting against it. The conversion to Buddhism was suggested by him as a moral support to the political and economic system. It was not a religion in that sense of the term involving God and ritual. No. It was a philosophy which promoted the principle of equality, fraternity, brotherhood, justice, which comes as a supplementary support to the political democracy, which comes as a supplementary support to socialism. So constitutional state socialism with political democracy, with social equality to Buddhism is the integrated package of ideology that Dr. Ambedkar has given instead of point out his. I think that is what he has struggled to give to us. That is what he wanted to build up a new nation, a new society, a new nationalism which allows each and everyone. I think there are lessons today that to give a policy instrument whereby you see a change in our world. If some of you are here 1950 where he did a hard work to give a political reservation, to give a reservation in employment, reservation in education, reservation in public. Entire reservation policy and legal safeguard movement, they are difficult to absorb the way we are going. Everybody should have an employment. Nobody denied that everybody should have an education. Nobody denied that everybody should have health. And that responsibility lies with the state. I think these are some of the massive points that associates were trying to make. That you have to put caste at center of each of it. Caste and political democracy, caste and economy, caste and society. Everywhere caste intervenes with this inequality and denial of rights that we have developed. We have to be, we want to address the issue of political right, equal citizenship to all, caste and nationality insofar as his relation with the economy, politics, society and culture. He's alive, he has to be, you cannot bypass. And I think he is going. They will continue to propagate his ideas so that we are able to reconstruct and build a nation. So thank you very much, Krishnaya. Thank you very much.
Most of you have no idea about the real health. We are very fortunate having and showing such a great message upon all of us.